28 attendees waiting and eager to hear your story. If you want to go ahead and flip on your cameras, you and Izetta. I try to reach out to Nathan right from Herbal Lodge. I'm not having any success on reaching him, so we can get started. And once he arrives, we can go ahead and include him on this conversation. But thank you so much. I hear the upgrade for Zoom is pretty neat. So I think if we see Donovan over there with cool backgrounds than ours, and I'm gonna be a little jealous now. Great. Well, all right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and, well, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining us online today from the comforts of your comfy space, wherever that might be. My name is Latasha Redhouse. I am the IAC's American Indian Foods Program Director. And we are, again, just so delighted that you could join us today for this producer panel. We have representatives from Red Lake Nation Foods and Naknek Family Fisheries. I'm also joined by my colleague who can go ahead and introduce herself at this time.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for bearing with a couple of technical issues, but I am Courtney Fisher. I am the Assistant Director of the American Indian Foods Program, and we're happy to have everybody here today.
Great, thank you so much. And so before I go into any other information or before we run into the panel discussion, I wanted to do a quick PSA. IAC has launched an initiative. We released several surveys that you could access on the IAC website at indianag.org. These surveys are for producers, farmers, ranchers, anyone in agriculture. We would love to hear your stories. We want to share your voice. All of the data collected from these surveys will be taken to Congress so we can, provide education about the amazing works happening in Indian agriculture. Oh, great. Thank you so much, Courtney. And this is the website. And you could either submit a sign-on letter or even, again, you have the option to take different surveys. So wonderful. Yep, so there's producer surveys, tribal community leaders, community grocers, food hubs and cooperatives. And then if you're part of our American Indian Foods Program, we really encourage you to go take that survey. And we're hoping to hear more about that maybe at the tail end of the Intertribal Food Summit. Great. Okay, so I guess we'll just go ahead and jump right into our producer panel. I'm going to have each of our panelists go ahead and introduce themselves and share some information about their organization and their business. So we'll start off with you, Donovan.
Bujuga Kinawea, Donovan Indigenous making our coons condition to go. Makwendo dame, So what I just there's hello everyone. My name is Donovan. My Indian name is Little Snapping Turtle. I'm from the Bear and the Eagle clan, and I'm from Red Lake, Minnesota. So I'm getting a little sign here. Is my internet connection good? Just want to.
Yeah, you're good. We heard that very well.
Okay, some just popped up. So Red Lake Nation Foods is a wild rice cultivating producer, which we grow about 800 acres annually of products. Those wild rice products, the amount that we grow is around 1 million pounds of.
Oh, sorry, real quick, Donovan. We might have lost you there for just a second.
Let me see.
Oh, wonderful.
I just actually got to my office, so
Oh.
I might as well go inside. I wanted to enjoy the outside and show you guys our wonderful, our college and our land and our lake in the background over here. So, so our business, we cultivate a million pounds a year, which finishes out to, like I said, about 500,000 pounds of wild rice annually, which we take to the market. And the story goes, there's a little history behind Anishinaabe and who we are and how we got to where we're at. That story goes, there's a migration story long time ago, 500-600 years ago. We were on the majority towards the East Coast. And as some elders had some visions, they asked to move inland where the water grows on water, or the food grows on water, sorry. So that's how we kind of got to the Minnesota territory, is because this is where the food grows on water, and that's essentially wild rice. So with that being said, okay, now I join the office atmosphere.
Darn it.
So with that being said, you know, that's how the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe people, my people, got to where we're at today. So we, back in the 70s, started to cultivate the wild rice instead of just harvesting it naturally off the lakes and streams. And that's kind of where we are today, from 30 years ago in transforming a wild product into a controlled environment in the fields, flooding those fields and growing the product. We're very happy and proud to be able to speak about what we do and who we are. And I think that's kind of a little bit of a synopsis, if that's 2 minutes or 3 minutes, trying to be cognizant of time also. So I guess we'll wait till next to answer some other questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Donovan. Izetta, go ahead and share some information about Naknek Family Fisheries.
Sorry, unmute. My name is Izetta Morris. I used to be Chambers with Naknek Family Fisheries, which I started in 2006 while I was in law school and while I wasn't pregnant, because I just didn't have enough going on. So I started the business. My family bought in. We built a small fish processing plant in Naknek in my hometown. And I think a lot of the move towards building the plant was, you know, everyone was like, I said, why aren't we making food? Why aren't we making fillets and fish the way we make for our family? And people are like, they don't want that, or the cannery's not going to pay more for it, or, you know, they're just not ready. So I was like, okay, watch me. So we made like the first value-added processing plant in Naknek, and we were doing vacuum packed frozen fillets. Well, kind of fast forward 10 years, the venture capital firm gets involved, we lose our plant, but they lost me, and I was the most important asset. And so recognizing that, I still had all my relationships at home. I don't live there anymore, but my family still fishes up there, and my son's there now, actually. He's the 6th generation commercial salmon fisherman from our family. I said 6th generation commercial, 10,000 years, you know, subsistence. So that was kind of where the idea of Naknek Family Fisheries came together. It's like, let's offer people what we have available to us, which is the best. So yeah, even though we don't have the plant anymore, I have 2 people that I get my fish from. We still have that traceability in terms of knowing who caught our fish. So there's only certain people that can catch the fish, because, you know, not everyone's a good quality producer. So yeah, we're doing a couple 1,000 pounds a year. We're looking to probably double what we did last year. So it took a couple of years to sort of get back and recover after the venture capital firm kind of didn't go as well as anticipated. So it's probably the best thing now. We don't have to go up to Alaska. We just focus on, you know, the marketing and making sure that we have the best producers and the best fishermen on our end. So that's kind of it. I mean, mostly we do the frozen fillets, but we do some canned product. We do a canned smoked product as well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Izetta. I just wanted to mention real quick for our Zoom attendees and for people listening in on Facebook as well, definitely feel free to post questions that you may have throughout the conversation, and we can address those and ask the questions in real time.
Great, thank you so much, Courtney. And so we'll just go ahead and jump right into several questions that we have. And so both of you, the organizations, Red Lake Nation Foods and then NACNIC, you guys are heavily involved with the American Indian Foods program, specifically like the export program, which is just a phenomenal program. I love sharing the story of all of the indigenous producers and businesses. So I wanted to ask, you know, what or how are those experiences, those international trade shows that you have participated in the past, and how have those trade shows benefited your organization? We'll start off with Donovan.
Excellent. So back in 2005 to 2010, I was the salesman for Red Lake Nation Foods. And at that time, we were, like you mentioned, we were pretty heavily involved in American Indian Foods. In the past 3 years now, we've gotten back involved with American Indian Foods. And going to those trade shows, there's a couple different customers I'd like to just mention is, we went to London a couple times. I think it was 2006, 2007. And from that trade show, we were able to connect with a distributor called Bespoke Foods. Bespoke Foods distributed products to Partridge, and that's a grocery store, or it's a little market that the Queen of England exclusively buys their food from. So we got in contact with the chef at the food show, and from that contact, we're able to connect with the distributor and then get into partridges. We end up selling partridges for about 10 years, and the Queen of England would be buying our rice, or her cook would buy the rice to feed to the Queen, which we're really proud of that little story, because it was a great connection. And it took a couple times going to a food show to actually come through and follow through and get the sale. The other one I like to talk about is we went to Barcelona, Spain one spring, and in the fall we end up going to Anuga with American Indian Foods. Those two food shows are, in Germany and Spain. At that time, we sold a company called Urzel Bibi from the Middle East, Israel. So from there, we're continuously selling over the past 14 years to a company in Israel, and they buy a container of rice a year. So that's some of the value that we can say on a scale that American Indian Foods has really helped us. And this, started back in the day, back in late 2000s. So immense interest out there in the world. When we get to tell our stories of who we are, what our foods are, what does American Indian Foods mean to us as a people, sharing that story is one of the best feelings, we have as a producer to get out to the world, which we wouldn't have the opportunity if it wasn't for American Indian Foods. So those are a couple things I can share. There's a lot more stories, a lot of relationships built over the years, and thank you to American Indian Foods, IAC, for taking us out there and showcasing us to the world.
Great, thanks so much, Donovan. Izetta?
I just wanted to say thank you to Donovan, because I always feel like a little self-conscious, because like you go into your first trade show and you're expecting like, oh, I'm going to make all these sales, and hearing from a couple other producers that it takes a few times and people kind of recognizing who you are and recognizing your product. So, I'm glad that you guys have been doing it as long as you have, and it's super encouraging. So the trade shows I feel like are immensely important, even if it doesn't result in an immediate sale from that trip. Some of the things that I've really been able to kind of hone my skills down, presentation, and I think our product looks good and stuff, but it's the signage and the brochures and kind of just like seeing how other people represent their products is really, really valuable. The first trade show I went to was Domestic. It was the NRA show in Chicago. and the guy from Tonka Bars was there, and he was just so encouraging, so like amazing. He helped me kind of like refine my pitch a lot. And so, yeah, I mean, I think for all of those reasons, it's been extremely helpful. And you guys always have like the best consultants and really good relationships with the government people and the regulatory people. And so it's nice to see that, you know, that continuity of service runs the whole gamut. So I'm excited to go back to Europe when all this kind of settles down, when we're not doubling in cases in Arizona every week. Yeah, we're at 36,000 cases last time I checked, but I can't keep looking at the numbers. It's just too defeating. But yeah, once things go kind of back to normal, we're hoping to do Brussels again, because we were really close to making a deal with the supermarket there. So it's just a matter of kind of dialing in specifically what they're looking for, and then figuring out a way to make it happen.
No, and thank you for sharing that, Izetta. And actually, to touch on that, with the export disruptions and with the pandemic, we want to ask both of you, how has your organization shifted marketing strategies to continue engaging your customers domestically and internationally?
So a couple of our big distributors out of the Asian countries have really slowed down and getting our products into the Asia market. They were a pretty big player for us last, I'd say, over 10 years. We connected with them through American Indian Foods, and that market has pretty much stopped for us. Going east, like I said, Israel, they're going to buy again here pretty soon. And it actually strengthened with the shutdown of sending it internationally. Our domestic market has actually picked up some for us. So we're helping, I guess we're working more with some other distributors within the nation to fill their orders, because we have product and they don't have so much product. So I think, you know, as we're looking to, you know, do more social media boosts, more potential internet plugs out there, our sales are up about 300%, which don't mean a huge amount, but it is a lot more people buying online. You know, 300% sounds like a lot, but it's like it went from maybe 3,000 to 5,000 a month to hitting over 10, maybe 15 in a month now, direct sales. So we're hoping that will continue, you know, through this pandemic. And as our local grocery stores have always been really good and consistent with us. So I can't say it's like it's a huge bad thing for us, except like the market has shifted for us, and it's going okay. And then even with the, you know, the PPP stuff, the payroll protection program has really helped us continue on with supplementing some of those wages for our employees that will help, you know, benefit and reinvest into our company. So it's a burden and a blessing. That's all I can say. It's as we look at it, we don't just look at it like it's a negative. We look at it as there's opportunity, and we look at it as we're able to do some investments now because we're actually saving a little money. That money's coming back is in the reimbursement program through PPP, and we're able to get some, as our market's changing here. One thing Red Lake Nation Foods is diving into is starting to produce our own syrup and jellies. So that's where some of the monies that we're able to save from the wages will be invested into our production line there, because we did buy a company not too long ago, our producer of syrup and jellies. So that's an exciting endeavor that Red Lake Nation Foods is able to expand on, because when I used to be a salesman for the company years ago, now to be actually the producer of products and to actually make products for the company that used to make products for us, it's really exciting how that kind of turned over for us. So hopefully more packaging rice goes out instead of the bulk containers, and that's kind of where we're trying to shift towards. So, and the syrup and jellies are being made in Red Lake now, which is very exciting.
That is super exciting, and it's really nice. I'm glad that you highlight that there are positives that are coming out of this pandemic. It's kind of a tough time to find positives, so it's really good to hear that there's been a 300% increase. And I know that a few of our other producers as well have seen quite a bit of an increase in sales through their e-commerce platforms, and have just really, you know, been able to view this as a time to strengthen their marketing techniques and everything associated with that. Izetta, do you want to touch on that as well, that question?
Yeah, I can definitely reiterate that the online stuff has been more fruitful. Our can sales have been pretty steady, just because people are stuck in their homes and they want a little some gourmet, something different that they don't normally have. You know, we've always, like, most of what we sell here is for our Tucson market, just because we're a smaller producer. We have been growing past couple of years anyway. We're trying to, you know, basically almost double in terms of output every year. But we've always offered here in Tucson door-to-door service, so it makes it kind of easy. But yeah, we had a couple restaurants that were, you know, a little bit slower during the pandemic. They were still, you know, kind of making food for delivery and whatnot, but it hasn't affected us too terribly much. The big worry that I had kind of back in March and April was, oh my God, am I even going to be able to get fish this year? Like, is it even going to happen? Because there was a lot of talk in my home community about, let's just not do the fishery this year, which, you know, coming from a family where my great-grandmother's mother, so my great-great-grandmother died of the Spanish influenza. So my great-grandma basically grew up as an orphan in a mission in Southwest Alaska. So, you know, we've known, our family and our community has known, like, what pandemics can do to the villages. So they were pretty cautious, and they really petitioned the state of Alaska to put appropriate controls in place. So it was not without a heavy heart that I sent my son to Alaska. He was 16, you know, but, you know, we were looking at the numbers in Alaska were still pretty low. And we're like, well, they test them when they get there. They test them again when they get to the villages, and then they have to self-isolate for 14 days. So, but that was a little nerve-wracking. And then you see the news about some of the cases going up in the big factories. And luckily for us, we only work with family producers. So the two companies that we source from, which is, you know, comes from our family fishermen, but they process it for us. They're all family run. So in terms of, you know, is this going to spread throughout all these masses of people? They're really small operations. So we felt pretty good that we'd still be able to make it through. So keeping our fingers crossed. The season hasn't started yet, but probably in another week or so, we'll see how it goes. But so far, so good. You know, we're holding steady, and you know, we don't really have employees. It's just me and my husband, and he just hit retirement a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to have him be the head honcho, doing all the deliveries and everything.
Nice. That is great. Well, we have one question filtering through. Charla asked, is the COVID outbreak in meat processing plants impacting your businesses? And that kind of might correlate with this other question that we wanted to talk to you about, was how has your business changed during this COVID-19 pandemic? I know you guys touched on the focusing shift, or the market shifting from international to more of domestic opportunities and market access there. And then maybe it maybe focused towards more of your community members as well, and your local and regional markets. But Donovan, if you want to share possibly again, like how things have shifted. I know you guys have a fisheries as well. If you want to share some information about how things have changed.
So we're taking all the precautions on safety measures when it comes to our processing plant, from masks and gloves and face shields, and testing temperatures, and if anybody's, hopefully being honest, if they're feeling ill, you know, to send them in and get tested. We did have a scare a couple weeks ago. There was a member that was tested positive, but he didn't come back to work for like after a certain time he had contact. So he did get tested. He was quarantined, and our plant, we did shut down for a few days to just make sure everybody was okay, had everybody tested, and did some deep cleaning, and we opened back up. But we are, you know, cognizant of the dangers and the threats that happen. And we're kind of fortunate our community hasn't been hit with an outbreak, but just one person so far. So I think, you know, as we're going forward, we are planning. We do have plans in place. Each of our operations, each of our businesses, our foods, our farm, our fishery do have plans in place for being safe and taking those precautions. And if something, you know, bad would happen, we probably would have to just close down like some of those places where I think there was a couple, or if it was South Dakota or North Dakota for the pig farmers or the beef, you know, processing plants, that they had outbreaks, so they had to close down for a bit. So we're just taking all the measurements and safety measurements to be prepared. That's all we can really do. So, but we do have border patrol up, and we don't have a lot of outside traffic coming to our reservation, which is kind of interesting. So we don't have anybody that isn't from our community coming onto the reservation right now. But we do have people going out to shop and stuff, you know, and we are just continuously giving updates from the chairman to please be take the, you know, the safety precautions. So that's kind of what I think, that's what we can do, and be prepared. So being prepared is what we have to do.
Yeah, and sorry, Izetta, you kind of touched up on that in your previous answer. And I know that because it is a smaller village, and you're really, again, you're probably most likely taking precaution because you're Izetta. You're not going to let anything slip past you. So how has things changed for you in light, again, you've kind of mentioned that you focus on domestic growth and everything like that. Have you maybe thought of entering other markets, like using this time to really amp up branding, marketing stuff, so when things do open up, you are ready to go? Have you guys looked at other markets?
Yeah, you know, I sort of tossed the smoke can idea around. I'm like, what do I do with these? Like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I don't particularly like them, just because I only liked my grandma's smoked salmon, and she's no longer with us. So, you know, I wasn't even good at making smoked salmon. So, but it is pretty popular because it's something different. It's ready to go. So in other countries, they seem to be really interested in this product. So I definitely need to focus on getting the labels translated, because it is a nice package label, and I don't know if I want to sully it by just putting a little sticker over it. You know, that always seems so chintzy. So that's kind of one of the things we're doing. I'm kind of worried about the air transport, just because some of our fish does travel by air for short and little hops. So that's a little bit of a worry, but you know, in terms of like our producers, like actually on the boats catching the fish, the nice thing is that they're kind of self-isolating out there anyway, you know, other than occasional hi bye to the tenders and the processors, they're not really seeing a whole lot of people. So like my son is fishing with my brother and his partner. There's 3 or 4 of them only on the boat. So I think we'll be okay. We're all just kind of, you know, holding our breath, because Naknek is a tiny village. You know, there's like 600, maybe 600 year-round residents now, and I would be real surprised if there was even more than one ventilator at the hospital, which it's not even a hospital, it's a clinic. And we don't have a doctor. There's like a PA maybe. So we're all just really hoping that people, you know, do the right thing when they get there and self-isolate. So I think it'll be okay.
Great. Yeah. And Donovan, are you guys revisiting any of your packaging, or revisiting any of the potential market, just to prepare for when things do open up?
Yeah, actually the fishery market kind of dried up for the restaurant area of business. And right now it's starting to pick up heavily in the retail sector, which we wanted to have a balance of retail and restaurant, but we were really heavy on restaurant in the past. So now the fishery is going towards more retail packaging. And we have a really wonderful package that we haven't really got out into the market yet, but it's getting out there now and it's really sharp. And to touch on the fishermen, we have, you know, our tribal members fish. We have probably 300-400 fishermen, tribal fishermen that go out and have the opportunity to catch, you know, 100, 150 walleye a day to bring into the fishery. And there's usually 1 or 2 people on those boats, and it's all hook and line. So it's quite the process, you know. You get to live, like, there's a lot of people that just love to fish and live and fish, and we get to live, fish, and catch a lot and make, you know, a little money. So actually a lot if you can catch your quota. So yeah, the market is shifting for our fish. Most definitely, it's going from restaurants to retail, and hopefully in the future we get a little more fresh to the market, and that's where we really want to be, because that's where we capitalize on the highest margins and profitability. And I just want to say, Izetta, you guys, the product is amazing. I was blessed to represent her a couple times at a couple food shows, and there was some great interest, and people just had all these different questions, which I did the best to answer. But I passed the information on to her, and hopefully, you know, there was some big players that wanted a lot of product from. Who would have thought a canned smoked product would taste that good? I absolutely love it. That's all. I know it's not your grandma's, I said, but I can say I've had a lot of, you know, my friends from out west in Washington, a lot of smoked salmon off the fire, and it's good. If anybody, like the Seattle market was even asking for, you know, there was a couple contacts that would like to get some. So I think you have a huge opportunity for some growth if you really want it, and if you can get the product in. It's an amazing product. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And I think Lottie can speak volume to that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I am so glad I decided to invest now, but I did place an order with Izetta, and my kids eat that like nonstop. They'll be opening a can, and I'm thinking, wait a second, that's our backup. That's our backup plan. Come on. So they'll be snacking on that. And luckily the local grocery, there's a tribally owned grocery store here where I'm at, and they carry red lake rice as well. So I have the best of both worlds. My son says, Mom, can you make some rice and some of that salmon? Maybe we mix it up and get some seaweed going and make some kind of cool burrito. Yeah, he's like all over it. And I'm really impressed with both of your organizations as fishermen and fisherwomen. I have no skills there. So hence the big order from Izetta. And I am not a hook and line. I tried. My husband's more of that fisher person, and he loves what is that? I don't even know the terms, but the fly fishing. So yeah, I save that for the pros.
That's funny because I didn't even go fly fishing ever in my life until I was like 16. And, you know, because when you're catching them 30,000 pounds in a day or whatever, it seems kind of silly to stand out there to try to catch one. So I finally catch a fish. It was like a grayling or something that was edible, you know. And I had a boyfriend at the time, and he was like, now you throw it back. I'm like, what? We've been out here for all this time to throw the fish back. But in the native culture, it's kind of crass. It's considered sort of like playing with your food if you're just going to catch and release, you know. So anyway, I just wanted to say that in terms of the retail stuff, we're definitely seeing more of that even with the frozen product, because we do this like case sale. We do like a discounted case sale thing pre-season so that people could get their orders in and get the same price as if they were in Alaska. So we do it like for Anchorage residents and Seattle residents, because that's where a lot of our customers are. And so that's been, you know, definitely picking up compared to prior seasons. I think people are just sort of feeling a little bit nervous with these meat processing plants shutting down, and some, you know, people hear rumors about Seattle fish processing plants with big COVID cases. And so I think people are cooking more at home because they're at home more. And so, yeah, they want fish right from their freezer. So we've been doing quite a bit of the case sale. So that's been good.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think right now is a time where a lot of people are realizing that it's good to consider where your food's coming from, who's producing your foods, and I think that a lot of our producers have really had a lot of success during this time in which I mean, I wish it could be a different scenario to bring that to light, but I know that a lot of people are very interested in these traditional foods and American Indian made products that our producers have to offer. And I'm seeing a couple of comments of people wondering where they can source these products and where they can source different American Indian foods products. And I'll place the link in the comments on the Zoom chat and on the Facebook live stream as well. But that brings us to our next question for both of you. What has been the most challenging barrier to overcome when entering the international or domestic marketplace?
What we found going to different, countries is the bilingual packaging, the language, maybe the metric system compared to the system that we use for weights and measures. And that's really what it comes down to, is how many different languages are you going to print, or is it going to be worth printing other boxes or labels, and is it going to be enough volume or an investment into getting that done? So we've been fortunate to be in Germany, which they allowed English. They wanted some German on there, but they're okay with just having English. We're able to get into a grocery store there at one point. We were in the UK, which, that's English, but there's multiple languages there. In Paris, we weren't so lucky because they wanted French, or Spanish is always big. When we were in Barcelona, they wanted Spanish on the packaging for, some labels. So we haven't really hit the home run on packaged goods overseas. We really hit the home run with we'll sell you 20,000 pounds or 44,000 pounds in containers, and then they'll do all the work in labeling and creating packaged product goods. So that's pretty much the biggest barrier when you're going overseas is the labeling. And that's time and time again, you'll figure out, well, do I have room on my package for like your story or a little bit of blurb of where it comes from, and then to translate it into their language, it kind of gets lost in translation also. So I think, packaging, labeling the package is our barrier.
Thank you for that, Donovan. And I swear this wasn't intentional, but I appreciate that you guys have your A Taste of Minnesota included in each of your packaging. I have it sitting next to my desk for promotional purposes, but I really do appreciate that you guys include like recipes and different ways to just basically cook wild rice. So I definitely do appreciate that. But Izetta, do you want to touch on potential barriers when entering these markets?
It's funny because I think me and Donovan are like exact opposite in that way. Like, I'm excited to slap a different language label on there, but for me, it's like, well, am I going to be able to get enough to meet the commitment? Because I'm the type of person that is like, if somebody wants something and I have it, I will happily do that thing. But if I'm going in like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to meet this, I'd rather just wait until I have the volume needed to make it happen. So that's kind of been my consistent issue, has been volume. Even when we had our fish plant, it was still volume, just because we've always sold out of every little scrap that we had. So we're just kind of trying to build up our capacity and get more. So, but in terms of the labeling, I feel like our labels are really cute, but I think it would be not that. I don't think it would be that challenging to translate them into either Spanish or French, especially the cans, because there's not that many ingredients in there. So that's definitely on the to-do list. And I had thought about Japanese, but it's like, I don't even know how to go about how would I even hire a translator for that, but you guys have specialists on your end that could help with that sort of thing, right?
Right, definitely. And we could talk about that later this week for sure. We can figure out how to help navigate that and really connect you with those consultants that we've used in the past.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I got the Spanish and French now because I kind of speak both those languages. Spanish, yes, but French, like.
Nice. Great. Well, thank you, both of you. The next question we wanted to ask was, what, being the owner and then also in the CEO position, Donovan, where do you find the passion and drive to continue pushing your organization forward? Again, there's a lot of hiccups. There's also a lot of wins, but what is that driving factor for both of you?
It starts a long time ago. And the part of the entrepreneurship, the entrepreneur in me. And then later on in life, going to school and having a bachelor's in American Indian Studies and Ojibwe, minor in Ojibwe language, and the pride of who we are as Anishinaabe or Ojibwe people is what it really comes down to, in telling our story and being blessed with the opportunity to go out there and talk to people that may not know. And you get the questions often, still live in teepees, still riding horses, still, some kind of stereotype, not being, they're not being negative or intentional, but they kind of wonder, and we do, like, so I'm a light-skinned native and I don't have long hair. So I'm always talking about Anishinaabe, language, some history, some stories. And then to back it up, I show them my tribal ID. So, but, and then they say, you even have to have a tribal ID, or you have to have an ID, a documentation that says you're a Native American. I'm like, yep, here it is. But the passion comes from, being who we are, being grounded in our 7 teachings, being Anishinaabe, and all the stories and everything that we did growing up off the land, from hunting, fishing, trapping, and just, I think those values distilled in us from our grandparents. I heard Izetta mention it earlier about her grandma, and yeah, my grandma was pretty influential in my life in raising us as, the grandkids go to grandma's house. And, being a young guy and young kid, being 10 years old, get my first 22 and being told, go put the snares out in the morning, go get the rabbits. And, and then go in the woods and shoot a partridge and bring some food back to grandma's house. So just that, the passion inside and the pride of who we are as Indigenous people, the platform you guys give us and allow us to partake in, kind of chokes me up a little, to be able to share our stories and who we are. So I think that's, and then the entrepreneur of wanting to help, wanting to sell a product or share our food. It's always, because we always give food. This is just another, I think, extension of giving our food. We're selling it, but we're sharing with the world our cultivated wild rice product, our walleye we're selling nationally. So, and we're selling our hand-picked wild berries in syrup and jelly form, providing economics for our community. So as we think about that, and we think about how our Indigenous ancestors lived, we always did barter and trade along these different routes. And it's just something that's ingrained in us, I really believe. So I think that's my passion, and that's kind of, what I bring to the table when I'm able to talk about who we are and what we do.
So definitely just beautiful, Donovan. We really appreciate sharing these stories of those that participate in the AIF program, and I think that's collectively Courtney and I's drive as well, is just sharing the stories of each of these producers. And Ozetta, if you want to go ahead and follow up.
Okay. Yeah, definitely the sharing of food is, I think, really ingrained in our culture at home. my grandma did play a huge part in my life, and she ran a little, it was called the Little House Bed and Breakfast, because she had like a little house where she put people, but they would all come to her house for lunch and stuff. And it was always, you know, this, every lunch was like this big to do. It was never like, oh, just have a little sandwich or whatever. It was like the salmon's coming out, the smoked salmon's coming out. If she's got, you know, a gouda and jam and everything that she's making, you know, it's coming there, and people are going to share. So I think like kind of the whole idea behind the business sort of stemmed from that sharing culture, and that really that wanting to share the goodness of what you have available. Because for me, it's like going out into the marketplace, I saw the ugliest fish, and I'm like, this is representing our region. I mean, just god awful ugly, no refrigeration, no good handling techniques. And like, we wouldn't even feed that to our dogs, you know? And so seeing that, it was like, I kind of had this, you know, calling to, let's show people what we really have. Like, let's show people how we do it, you know, like how we eat our fish and the care that we take into it. So that was kind of the big thing. And then, you know, like the company literally got started with like a grant. So it wasn't like I spent my whole young life thinking I was going to be some kind of fishmonger, because that it was sort of an afterthought. It was kind of like, how can I make this better for my family? Because at the time when I wrote the grant and started the business, sockeye salmon was selling for like 40 cents a pound. And people were going up there and barely making a season of it. And there was just no assurance in the market. You go in, you know, the state of Alaska posted some law that canneries have to post a price pre-season. So the cannery's response, and literally I'm talking to like 7 companies, the Seattle 7. They're like the big companies that go out there and operate. And so they posted every season, they post 5 cents a pound pre-season, and then they do the same stuff at, I was going to say something. They do the same stuff at the end, which they pay up at the end. And it's, to me, that just didn't seem fair, you know? So there was this equity involved. And like, you don't go to a restaurant and then, you know, on the menu prices, it says, oh, we'll square up at the end. No. So that was a lot of the driving force, was the equity of it. The fact that people in my family were going out on the waters and risking their lives to bring this amazing protein to the world, and they weren't getting compensated for it correctly. So, and there wasn't a lot of pride in what they were making. It was like, you know, people stepping on their fish, no ice, you know, and there was no care in it. So when we started this, because I started marketing my mom's fish about 3 years prior, there was no local place that you could even buy fish in my town. So if you wanted to go down to the beach and get a fish off a fisherman's boat, you couldn't. Nobody was doing that. So we started gilling and gutting and selling locally, like to the lodges, to working professionals who didn't have the time to waste and putting a net out and all that stuff. So it was sort of evolved on its own. But one thing that has always really been a big part of it, and this was the piece that I miss most about not having the actual plant anymore, is the teaching part of it. Because I feel like now that my grandma's passed, it's incumbent upon me to share this knowledge, you know, with the rest of my family, in terms of the filleting, handling, all that stuff. But I feel like pretty much all the younger people in my family have gotten their little lessons, so now it's their turn. But yeah, definitely the willingness, the wanting to share what you have that's really good in terms of your home community, and sharing the story. You know, a lot of people have this, you know, it's like, I know you still live in an igloo, and I'm like, yeah, my igloo is a 2-story house with central heating. And people just don't know what happens in communities, you know. So I think a lot of it's just wanting to share that story and let people know that we're not out there raping and pillaging the oceans. This is a sustainable fishery. It was designed that way into the Alaska Constitution. So yeah, just pride, I think, in bringing the best of what your home community has to offer to the world.
Great. Thank you so much, Izetta. Sorry, Courtney, before we move on, I just wanted to make sure to just check in with you to see if we had any questions coming in from Facebook or Zoom.
Yeah, for sure. So we do have a Facebook question. impact from food safety compliance across the market spectrum as you move from tribal markets to international markets? What is the impact? Do either of you have a take on that?
What was the question again?
Oh, I'm sorry. So I think the question is, what is the impact from food safety compliance across the market spectrum as you move from tribal markets to international markets?
There's no difference for us. I mean, Alaska was one of the earlier states to kind of set the bar in terms of HACCP and seafood safety after they had that one botulism case in like Belgium in 1987 or whenever it was. So I feel very comfortable. The only worry that I have kind of going forward is the airline thing, because there are those little hops where our fish is on the airlines, and if there's any hiccups there, things could go south real quickly when you're dealing with frozen products. So that's my only trepidation. But other than that, we don't have any compliance. It's not really an issue because we deal with frozen product.
Yeah, as for Red Lake Nation, we also follow all the compliances domestically, which do entail and translate internationally. So as long as we have our compliances in place, our HIPAA and our HACCP and our USDA approved plant, we're sitting pretty good. And then just having the insurances in place that could help cover the product or cover the product if it's, depending on if it's FOB. So I think, from a tribal standpoint, I think if the question is around towards like an individual producer that isn't doing a commercial site, or if it's a tribal organization following all the compliances, I think that's the only two different components. And then kind of where you're selling to the market. And if you have all those in place, everything is pretty seamless. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much for being our guest of honors today. I am so excited I got to connect. Sometimes we'll just text and call each other, and it's just so different that I can't like see your face. So right now that I'm actually talking directly to you both and seeing your lovely faces, it really makes this conversation even more amazing. And we wanted to, give this time maybe a few more minutes, or just like if you guys can just share how those that are listening in can find you, share your website, and if you want to share your contact, maybe email, that would be completely fine. And then Courtney and I can just go ahead and wrap it up.
We have most of our stuff is done through our website, naknekfish.com. It's NAKNEKFISH. So, we really upgraded our systems this year and got one of those answering services. So now it's like I'm not fielding 100 calls about, oh, you're hiring this season. So it all goes to answering. little improvements.
Great. Yeah, go ahead. And Donovan, you shared. Great. Oh, you're on mute, Donovan. Let me just.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I put our websites on there. You can find us at redlakenationfoods.com or at lakenationfishery.com. And it's okay. I feel, if anybody wants to reach out and ask any questions, I'm more than willing to help and share at donovansather.redlakeinc.com. And I think my screen froze, I think. Or is it working?
Oh yeah, it's working. We're just getting ready to share some information about sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'm open to any questions. I'm willing to help anyone out. And I would like, I just want to see our Indigenous communities prosper. I love hearing the stories. I love people being able to tell their stories. And like I mentioned before, working with Izetta for a short time there. Just, you know, being honored to go out there and talk about Knick-Knack and looking up the company. I couldn't speak exactly for it, but I could talk about the product and how wonderful it is. And to sample some people, oh, that was the best ever. So I worked alongside Tonka for a few shows in those 5-year stint from 2005 to 10, and they were such a wealth of knowledge. And I just want to follow up with that comment about Izetta mentioned that earlier. You know, the best part of being able to go to a show isn't just going to a show and making a sale or making a connection, but actually building the relationships with other producers. Izetta touched on that a little bit, and I cannot echo that enough. Being able to connect with other producers and everybody working together, it's a wealth of knowledge. Everybody's willing to help each other out, and American Indian Foods, IAC, has been something wonderful for us to tap into and to build partnerships, friendships, you know, long-standing friendships for the past 15 years for me through working with American Indian Foods and IAC. So yeah, please reach out. Please feel free. So, and I appreciate the time to speak to everyone.
Great. Thank you so much, Izetta and Donovan. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share your story and take questions and you know, just to reconnect again. Courtney has the producer directory pulled up on the screen, so we're sharing that right now. For anyone interested, anyone that wants to find other American Indian Foods program members, you can visit this website. We have all of the producers listed there, along with Red Lake Nation Foods and Knick-Knack Family Fisheries. If you scroll down, we do have like the full-on list, or if you wanted to say you just wanted to find something locally or within your region, you can select maybe that state, and you will be taken to a quick landing page that lists all of the producers within that state. Or you can go and search fairly quickly in the little search button, say you're looking for acorn bites or white or yellow blue corn. That can kind of simplify those search results. But yeah, I'm really excited that we had you guys join us. Courtney, did you want to touch more on the website if I forgot something?
Yeah, no, just that there's the searchable box where you're able to search for specific products or specific regions or just keywords if you're looking for any specific producers. And then I just wanted to also thank both of you too for sharing your stories today. And I think that it's the most amazing part about being in this position is getting to hear the producer stories and the passion behind each of your guys' operations, and just, you know, that educational component where you're having to explain who the American Indian people are, who the Alaska Native people are, is a big learning component. And I mean, domestically and internationally. And I really appreciate your guys' willingness to not only create an amazing product that comes out of Indian country, but to teach and to use that as a learning opportunity for people who might be interested in foods that are coming out of Indian country.
I just want to give a quick plug for you guys. You ladies are amazing. Like the website improvements, like the outreach, and I've really appreciated all the assistance that you guys give, and just checking in. It's nice to have that support. So thank you.
Yes, no, thank you guys so much. We'll definitely have to reconnect afterwards, and we'll high five each other off camera or on camera. Yay! But I think this was just a really great time for us again to share your story and really, again, highlight the cool products that are being produced within Indian country. I mean, we have a wide variety of products that AIF represents and promotes through our AIF program. And if you are interested in learning more about the AIF program or how we work, we have these wonderful representatives here today that can share with you information about it, or you can reach out to Courtney and I, and we could do a quick onboarding session, or just again, shoot you an email fairly quickly. So thank you guys for bearing with us for the last hour or so, and we'll connect soon. Oh yes, real quick plug. We do have another producer panel on Saturday during the whole Intertribal Food Summit. But again, this is all part of the Intertribal Food Summit, celebrating food and life and happiness and everything else good. So we will see you guys tomorrow for the next live event.
Yes, thanks for joining us today. Tomorrow we'll have Sean Sherman and Philomena Quebec presenting on behalf of the Intertribal Food Summit. So thank you for joining today.
Excellent. Thank you.